I asked LinkedIn, what do they think about performance management? Should we do it, not do it, or have it completely gone? What do you think they said? Find out. Ahoy legend! Welcome back to a altered version of Ask Reddit, but this time we asked LinkedIn for some insights into what do they think when we approached a particularly taboo topic that a lot of people do not want to talk about in the workplace, and a lot of leaders are really afraid of. That's performance management. Now I'll say what I always say on this topic is I'm not advocating for people to go out there and start performance managing people for the fun of it. That's terrible, it's not what we want. But I think a lot of leaders are afraid of even talking about the subject because we've just dehumanized it and made it really awful for everyone involved because we don't understand that it's about managing performance, not about moving people out the door. And I think that's an important distinction. So for this one, I'm gonna grab my laptop and turn over to what people had to say on LinkedIn as we walk through it together. I will not disclose anyone's identity that voted, but I will talk about some of the demographic data that I can see and who chose to respond. But I think this is interesting, right? Because it's a taboo topic. So the poll and the text to that post, Benji, our amazing editor, will put here. This is one of those taboo, for no good reason, topics that people avoid. Performance management in the workplace. I've had several people say it's all about vision. Why? And always start with why. Why? Motivation and pay instead of having to sometimes manage people. What about the role of performance management? Weigh in with the poll below and I'll share the insights after. So that's what I'm doing. Hey, I made a promise. I'm sticking to it. Great. So the exact poll question, because sometimes people just look at the poll question, was everyone talks about motivating people and having the vision, but what about performance management? What role does it play? So we had 4 choices for people to choose, or they could comment with something else if they didn't agree or didn't like any of the answers. And no one did that, which says this gives enough people the answers, or no one was brave enough to put their name to it, which is not surprising. So it was viewed by 2,000 people, so a good sample size. I've got 3,000 or 4,000 connections, something like that on LinkedIn, and we had 2,000 look at that poll. So what do they say? No one, which I'm so glad to see, no one voted for I'd never use performance management. Awesome. That's what we want. Want to find that out. Want to know that everyone who answers at least brave enough, if it was required, of course, to go down that track. Cool. Now what was a little disturbing, actually deeply disturbing, was motivation solves everything was agreed to by 7% of the voters.
This is the worst!
Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a demographic check on positions in which those people work in. And I can see that they are in the kind of coaching, consulting, facilitation, support services arena. Interesting that no one in like your traditional kind of leadership space or leader space as a role answered that. It was more the consultants and coaches.
You don't want to be like this.
Particularly leadership coaches, which scares the shit out of me. Voted for it's all about motivation. Motivation solves everything. God.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah. The reason this bothered me, the reason I put this as an option, was I was giving a talk at a university. I was invited to speak at a university at their MBA program just a couple of weeks back. And in the room, one of the lecturers, who is a career academic and has been in that space for a while, had an issue with this exact topic around performance management, so that they believe that the exact words and phrase was something to the effect of, if you sufficiently motivate people, you won't have to do any of these other things. No, that's wrong. That's why this poll was created, to test, am I crazy? Are you crazy? No, I know I'm not crazy. I've seen it in hundreds of leaders, but what does everyone else think? The next answer is performance management is a last resort. Well, what does that tell us? It tells us that the person views it as a kind of exit tactic or a really severe kind of punishment or smack on the wrist. And that says to me that there's possibly some fear there. Now, we had a decent chunk of people vote for that. 18% voted for that. That kind of signals to me that maybe there's this apprehension around performance management. And I'm gonna give you some advice on this towards the end that you can use to fix some of this or to change your thinking around it if you're a leader, which you should be if you're watching this, or at least aspiring to be. And we will pull some of those tips apart just at the end. By the way, be sure to click the subscribe button and the like button below. Helps us with the algorithm and helps us with to give you awesome content. Now, the last and biggest bucket of votes was in the place of we need the balance of both. This makes me so happy. Now, there's the danger that I'm in an echo chamber, right? That I have thousands of people that I'm connected to that are leaders who kind of believe in the stuff that I go out and help leaders with. I accept that. But regardless, the fact that they're brave enough to say, actually, we need the balance of both performance management and motivating people says to me that there's still hope for hundreds and thousands of leaders to do this right. And there's such a range of different demographic there, including, oh, look, good consultant in there. Hey, hey, hope for our industry. Director, manager, senior manager, leader, team leader, manager. Great. This is a manager, comms person, director, MD, CEO. Also, this is fantastic. Like, this is what we want. Another coach, hey, coach. They're in the kind of agile space, so they get it. Coordinators, managers, like, this is fantastic. This is what we want. Redemption! Redemption! It's here! Finally, I'm not insane. No, I might be a little bit insane, but no, not really. This is great. This says to me that there's hope. Cool. So I promised you some tips on performance management, and some of the tips around balancing your thinking, specifically around, well, I don't like the PM word, the performance management. It scares me. I worry about the effect it will have on my people.
What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
You have to understand that no matter what you do, right? If we look to psychology,
Role play, firing me, and I will take it.
the role of nature and nurture, this is not new stuff. We used to think maybe it was 50-50, or we thought it was more nurture. If we just fix some of the nature problems, we'd be okay.
It's not personal.
There are factors in the nature bucket, in the biology bucket, in the motivation bucket that we cannot resolve through motivation alone, through good parenting alone.
Are you sure you're qualified to be taking care of that baby?
What are you talking about? I found a baby before.
Now, obviously, we're not talking about parenting, but if you accept that for humans, at a deep level, there are some biological traits that they'll inherit, potentially depression, bipolar, all these different things that we know are clinical and medically diagnosed things and accepted in the practice. And we go, well, ooh, even if we just had those in the workplace, we have to accept that motivation alone cannot be the only solution.
Sometimes the guy's got to ride the bull. Am I right?
Now, if we see people that are struggling and you're thinking, oh, my choice is I try to motivate that person or I performance manage that person, that's not what we want, right? We're thinking, well, let's try and find the middle ground, which is let's set some standards, some things we want them to achieve, and let's try and build them back on track for that performance. That's what we want, right? We want to try to do that. Your role is to coach them through that if you can. Now, if you cannot do that, or if the person is outright refusing, or if their motivations, which I have seen, are to come to work and do as little as possible to collect the paycheck and to be the biggest pain in the ass for everyone else on the team that they can be, then you move to performance management. Of course, how could you not? You have a duty of care and responsibility to not only your team, the individuals on the team, and your customers, your stakeholders, but to yourself.
It stops now.
Ensure that you look after yourself. And to do that, you have to have these hard conversations, because if not, they'll plague you at night. You'll worry about them. You go, oh, is this ever going to end? I wish they would just quit, and you'll be miserable. If you're thinking to myself, I wish this person would just quit,
We are screwed.
you know you need to do something about it. And that's fine. Look, there are easy ways to do it. We even have a community, shameless plug there, the Team Buffalo Leadership Community, which is a great place to ask those questions, on-demand leadership tips, micro courses, all the stuff you need to be able to even have those difficult conversations are there for you. So there are places like that and there that you can go, or you just have to back yourself.
Am I a hero? I really can't say, but yes.
I know I need to do this. HR's got protocols in place. I'm gonna stick to those protocols. I'm gonna do something about it.
Yeah, boy!
So those are some tips around getting your thinking just to change a little bit around, well, I owe it to myself, to my team, and to that person to ensure that I give them the feedback they need and that they're due to make sure that we improve or they move on. But if you aren't prepared to do those things, you'll suffer way longer than you need to. So don't do that to yourself, don't do that to the team, and don't do that to the organization. Awesome, so today was just about sharing that LinkedIn poll and helping you to see, well, hey, there's different views on this stuff, but clearly there are ones that work and there are ones that are just opinions based on theoretical exercises. Let's go with what works. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of, instead of Ask Reddit, Ask LinkedIn this time, and I look forward to seeing you in this. If you haven't checked it out already, we have another series called Unpopular Leadership where I deal with topics like we did today that are unpopular in the leadership arena, but are true, and you deserve to know, because how are you going to get better and lead in a really tough world if you don't have the truths that matter? So that's what I'm here to do. Thanks for dropping in. Click the like, subscribe, everything. Check us out on socials, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Keep kicking ass.